Phil, do
Kenny?
you remember the old days when you guys would come in, but we just launched something with you, get it going, and then you come in and want to know how it's doing, where it was, and you have all this list of questions, and I give you the look of like, piss off because I don't have time to run around trying to figure all this stuff out. How many stores is it in? Well, it's supposed to be in this many, Phil. Kenny, I can't see it all in these stores. Phil, get your people, go and find out which stores it's in. Remember all those conversations where to get data on something just listed or just running, everything just took forever to get an answer. Everything.
And it was frustrating. All of it was frustrating because I'd be frustrated at you because you couldn't get me the answers I want. You'd be frustrated because you didn't understand why I just didn't throw more resources at this. But either way, neither of us ever got the answers that we ever wanted.
Exactly. Tons of paperwork, took forever. And by the time we got the data, who cared anyway? Well, you know what, Mr. Chang? Those days are over. Field Agent just launched Marketplace. You want to know what it is, Phil? Because I know you're dying to ask. It's a self-serve platform where brands of any size can launch tasks on demand.
Okay. So I can test packaging, pricing. I check promotions to see if they're set up correctly.
All of it. And super quick. You can do it within minutes. And you can target by location, demographics. You can get photos, feedback, and the data is in one easy peasy, easy to read dashboard. Super, super easy. Best part, no minimums, no setup fees. You pay for the data you collect, and that's it.
Perfect for small brands that we talk to all the time, sales team, marketers,
100%.
anyone who needs quick, real-world insights. I like
True data now. Not in a week, not in a month. If you're so inclined on a Friday afternoon like we are now, and you wanted to probably start it tomorrow or Sunday, guess what? You can do it. None of this 15-year delay, and before you know it, the world's turned over 3 times. Incredible.
If you're interested, check it out at www.fieldagentcanada.com/marketplace.
Hey, welcome to This Commerce Life, an unscripted podcast that focuses on the stories behind small and independent Canadian retail and Canadian CPG.
What we try and do is deliver or pull out the story of our guests and give them to you. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly of retail and CPG in Canada. We're filling a need because we think that retail is hard on the best of days, but it's also a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up and make your living.
We also think that the industry, nor the people that inadvertently find themselves in the industry, really understand the industry at all. They don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes.
So listen to us, Phil and Kenny. We'll unravel it for you. We'll give you the story. We'll give you the story behind the story. Hey, Kenny. How are you?
Phil. Sleepy Phil. Really good.
Kenny and I spent all day together, and yet he's still smiling to see me, and I'm still smiling to see him. Aw.
How long does this last, Phil? I mean, that's been 8 years of this. I mean, sooner or later, this has got to wane or fade out now.
I don't know. Is it fading for you yet?
Really?
I like it. I love it. I actually feel like we've really just begun, right? And I feel like Canadians are catching up to us, right? Because now Canadians are like, who are all these Canadian brands? And we're kind of like, let us tell you, because we've been talking to them for a long time. So
I like it. I mean, I do. I think it's, and at the recording today is, we've had another setback in the States. And I think, again, we need to just keep doubling down on the Canadian aspect of it.
Yeah, on us.
Seriously, right? And then going to Anuga and seeing that, I think there's opportunities for us to hop the pond.
Yeah.
Some cool stuff going on.
Yeah, I like it. So a little bit different today. I thought I'd ask you first, is we do get this question a lot, is what's your experience? Like, what do you do? And then we kind of do a little bit where we talk about who we are, but then we do it in like pretty high level, and then we kind of blow through it and then get to whatever we're going to do. So what I thought I'd do is spend a little time and then ask you about your career. Like, what makes you qualified to do what you do now? Like, where do your experiences come from? Some of that stuff. I'll cover some things I know about you, right? Is how I met you. You were a buyer for London Drugs, and I was sales strategy for Johnson & Johnson. You were pretty well known in the industry anyway. And then we had actually crossed paths, I think, for the first time when I was on feminine hygiene. Stay Free
Sounds right.
Carefree
Stay free,
OB.
OB.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But what can you talk about, like, because you have an extensive background with London. Like, how did you start? Where did you start? What what did you wind up doing?
So I didn't pull. So I've been in retail for a long, long time. So when I was, growing up in trail, my my sort of retail started, I was during high school, right? So I was 14. I started working at the shoe repair in town, right? So I got immediately some customer service thing. Start learning how to use a till, how to ring things out. I was fixing shoes. Like it was kind of cool, right? It was a cool job. I actually quite liked it. So I did that for years, and then I worked in the local stationery store in town because my mom and her best friend owned the shop. And my mom worked there. So I got, I was already merchandising ends and stuff like that at 16. Like I was doing it because I liked how things looked. I liked design of an end. I liked product. I mean, I could get excited about paper clips, buddy. I mean, I got some serious issues. I loved doing that. So I was
Yeah,
working there, and then I worked in a stereo shop, like selling stereo equipment, like old school hi-fi.
hi-fi.
Well, I've always been in high fidelity, baby, old school. And I did that,
No, I
so I
love
did
that stuff. Sherwoods and Kenwoods and
Rents
Blaupunkt
and
and yeah,
Macintosh, like all
yeah,
those old like cool names. Like I
yeah,
loved
yeah,
stuff like that. So
yeah.
I was always in retail when I was growing up.
Okay.
I even did deliveries for that. Like for the stationery shop, I delivered. So I was delivering to Castlegar and to
Yeah.
Nelson and like, just
Okay.
driving around doing. So I've always been in that. When I moved to Vancouver to go to university, I took marketing in university. But even when I was down here, had a job with um, a stationery supply distributor, right? So
Okay.
I was pick packing in the warehouse
Yep.
orders for stationery, like even for the one in Trail, I would pick pack orders, and send it to, to my mom and Mrs. Catalano. So I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
always in it. When I graduated university, everybody was going into the P&G, Johnson and Johnson, more Europe, where sort of you
Yeah.
went.
Yeah,
And I
yeah, yeah.
thought, I don't like these people. They're too big. I don't give a shit about facings of Tide and going into a store and saying, oh my God, I got 3 facings of Tide this week. We should have 4. I thought, that just sounds so boring to me. So I took a job, guess what industry? With a printing and stationery company in Vancouver. It was a family-run business, and I
Okay.
took a sales job for a year and a half. When there was an ad that came up in the newspaper, something, well, I guess in old school, probably newspaper or something like that, because there was no internet. And it was
No internet. How old? No, I'm
this is
joking. I'm
19 this
joking.
is 1989. So, things are just starting. So 1990, I see this thing. It's a job for a sales supervisor at London Drugs. And I thought, you know what? I'll go do that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Then I'll just go back into university. I'll get my teaching certificate. That's what I really
Okay.
wanted to do, right?
You were
And
going to be a teacher.
yeah, I seriously considered it. Yeah, honestly. Yeah. I don't think I would have been a good teacher because it can't be, I
No,
would have
you'd be a
had to have
good
been at
teacher.
least grade 12 university because my language and how I do things probably
No,
wouldn't
no,
have.
no. You'd be a good teacher. You'd have to find your way. You'd have to find the right
Yeah, but I don't
school.
want to find the way. This is the way. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do
No,
this.
no, I don't mean you'd find the way. Somebody would find the way for
People
you.
find their way around me, which
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily work in institutions. But anyway,
Okay.
so I took a job with London Drugs, going to do there for like 2 years, go back. Well, two turned into 26. Is sort of the way it went. So I was with London from 1990 to 2016. And in that
All right.
time, I had done like the first 7 years I was in the stores. So I started as a supervisor. I left as an assistant manager. And what it was is because I've been buying and selling shit all my life, right?
Yeah.
I've been collecting whether it's coins, paper money, or sports cards since I was like 8.
Yeah.
I'd always had a buying and selling. So, and even in the stores, like I would love to buy shit offline. So, we had planograms, and then I would phone head office, like, and talk to Bill Handel, who's the food buyer, say, listen, Bill, got a great deal, got a chance. And first
I had to use Mario, who was my store manager, like in North Vans, when I really started doing the buying. And because Bill trusted Mario, by default, I sort of got a trust level. So I started doing, I'd buy shit and then I'd do stuff and then I'd phone and then I stopped phoning. I just put it in the system and list it, right? And it didn't matter because I
Very
think Bill
Kenny.
liked me and I kind of trusted me.
Yeah,
So I
very
would like, and
Kenny.
I
Yeah,
loved doing that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
An opportunity comes up in the office for a buying position and I didn't apply, right? And Mario phones me one day and goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, buddy, I don't know how to do co-op and all this shit. Like, I mean, I can buy and sell, but there's no co-op in sports cards and coins and whatever." And he got really mad at me and he goes, "You need to apply for this job." So
yeah.
I talked to Bailey. I said, "What do you think?" And I applied. Next thing I know, I'm working in head office and I'm responsible for over the counter and vitamins, which were pretty substantive categories in a
Yeah,
drugstore.
not little,
And I've
not
got
little.
like
Yeah, yeah.
zero retail buying experience, like none. I can do it, but I don't know the formalities again of the co-op and all this other, the
Well,
warehouse.
and you've got scheduling and you've got
It was just a lot,
regulatory
but
and
I
yeah,
fucking loved it. I loved it. It was so much fun. And I once I started that, it was, I did vitamins and OTC, and then I did,
no
all
stopping
the.
you.
It was out of control then. No, then that was it.
Yeah.
So I eventually, when Bill retired, I got into food. And at that point, I was already a merchandise manager. So I was merchandise manager of food, still buying vitamins and OTC. So at one point, I'm buying, you know, literally, I'm buying about a quarter of the company business. That was what the value of my little piece was, right? Still reporting to people, but I was buying, and I was always buying. Like I bought way too much, like in terms of way too many categories at the same time. But I hated giving shit up. So I was always
Accumulate
working.
categories. Yeah.
I loved it. I just loved buying. I loved the whole, what, I just loved talking to people. So I got to the point where, without, like I was actually consulting in essence while I'm a buyer because I'd have a lot of brands come in, especially like brands we talk to now, and they come in. I think, oh my God, people, you're going to just die a
Don't do it.
painful death.
Yeah, just don't
Just,
do
and
it.
I tell them, don't do
Yeah.
who have you talked to? Nobody. I said, stop talking
Yeah.
to people. Your
Yeah.
costs are wrong. The retail's going to be wrong. And I'm not doing consulting. I'm consulting for free. This wasn't a job. I wasn't making money.
You were just
I was
giving
more on
them
this.
advice, like
You know what it
on what to
was?
do.
We were
Yeah.
local. We were a local chain. We were
Yeah.
small. No matter how big our sales were, we were only, 70 to 78 stores. Well, I think when I was buying, it was probably anywhere from 55 to 78. I think I saw about 23 stores come on as
Yeah.
a buyer. So
Yeah.
we weren't huge. We were, in my opinion, we were local. I didn't give a shit if we were in Calgary or Edmonton or Regina. We were local. So I always had this affinity toward the local brands. I liked local. I liked the Pool Vancouver or the Kootenays or the Caribou. And it didn't matter if it was a BC thing or a Canadian thing. Like I was all over it. Loved helping things. And so I would get to the point where, even like, and I don't know why they would do this to a buyer, but and I got to know people's cogs because I'd be thinking, oh my God, you can't, I can tell by the retail you're coming at. There's no, and I know I know kind of ingredient costs. There's no way you can make this
Yeah. Yeah.
and survive in retail.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was some of the sort of consulting I did. Again, it probably wasn't, it was good for the company I was talking to, good for London Drugs overall, good for Canada overall, BC overall, because the product was going to be viable. As a buyer, you probably you shouldn't care. You just buy. If the company goes under business, I mean, what do you care? It's not your company. It was, that was sort of the mentality of the industry, and I hated it. I
Yeah.
hated it.
I didn't
I
like that
never
either.
understood why you couldn't
Yeah.
have sort of win-wins. My thing was, I can do win-win. I just need to win a little bit more because I'm the buyer. So I can play the buyer card. Like I get to win a little bit more.
But
And
I
everybody,
think that's right. Like, because I don't think
well,
like
that's the
I think
position
the
I'm in. I'm
industry
sorry.
was gonna be I need to dominate, not win, right? And for
But
vendors,
it was a Trump mentality,
yeah,
with sort of use his name, but it was not about, it was about, I have to win at all costs all the
yeah,
time. And I
yeah,
think that is such a shitty way to do business. Like
it
just a
is.
horrific way to do business.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
a one
Yeah,
PO world. And
yeah,
I hated that. I would rather, my thing was, if I was going to sit with you, the way I looked at you as a product, it was either literally going to be one PO in and out, and we both knew it, or I wanted to do 1,000 POs with you. Either we're doing this long term or I'm not really interested. Now, things, as you know, things sometimes fail. And, you look at something, you think, oh my God, this is going to sell.
Yeah,
We're going to
this is
sell
the thing. And you're
containers.
like, no, actually, it's not the thing.
And then clearly 8 months later, you're thinking, well, I guess that really
No,
didn't
not the
work too
thing.
well, did
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah.
But anyway, you got to try shit, right? And
Yeah.
my philosophy was always that you're better off to be the number one strikeout leader in the league, because if you're striking a lot out a lot, statistically, you're
Taking a lot of
hoping you're
swings.
hitting a lot.
Yeah,
So if you're
yeah,
batting 400 or 450,
yeah,
which in baseball would be obscene, it's because you're swinging a lot. So you got to take chances and calculated risk. But to me, you always got to go. Always got to go. You don't sandbag it, right? If you got a
yep,
10% growth this year in a category, like pump next year, like you just always got to go. Always got to go. So that's how I did it, and that's what I liked. When I left London, it was more because I was 50 years old, and I figured I just drew a line in the sand and said, if you don't leave at 50, you're probably not leaving till 65. And I didn't want to be 60 years old like now, or next year I'll be 60. I didn't want to be sitting at the desk thinking, man, could you have done it? Should you have done it? Like I didn't want to do the coulda, woulda, shoulda. So I left to, in essence, ultimately where we've sort of ended up. I was always consulting anyway. I just may as well get paid for it.
yep,
And that's sort of what I did. So for me, I love what we do now. I love the consultative part. I love to see if I can help make a difference. I love to see if I can help you make some money to do whatever you want to do or whatever you deem
yep.
successful, and it's up
Hmm.
to you. Um, I just love this industry. Every time I try to leave, it's like this, it's like a magnet. It just keep, it's the Godfather. They pull you back in, right? I don't know, man. I just like doing what we do. I really enjoy the aspects of sort of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
coaching, teaching. It's such a
See,
rush
you're a
to
teacher.
watch.
Just
Uh, I don't know. It's
you
you
became a
talking.
teacher just a different way. Took you a long time, but
You became
you're
a
here.
teacher because you can teach university. You do things. So I just follow you. I don't do whatever. I can only do me.
There's something that I've learned about Kenny over the years is Kenny can't take a compliment.
Anyway, whatever. That's
Kenny can't take a compliment. Kenny will deflect every time, and then Kenny will never recognize his own talent. So if Kenny says, what do I know? It actually means he knows. So if you ever work with Kenny, that's him just being sheepish, but he actually knows things. So
anyway. It's supposed to be talking, not you. So what are we doing here? This is
one
good.
thing that I resonate with a lot is, you leaving London. I felt the same way as when I left. It was, because I worried about that too, is, like if I'm late 40s, early 50s, um, in big companies, I'd seen my dad was like that. But even I'd seen it is you wind up seeing people who aren't ready to leave that get asked to leave.
That
Because
was their
companies
thing.
are
I
not
didn't want
kind
to
to
be pushed
50-year-olds.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
If I'm going to push, I want to push myself out. It's
correct.
no different than how
Yeah,
you and I do things now. I don't mind. I don't mind working my way out of a job. To be
yeah.
frank, I mean, if you work your way out of a job,
Then you've done it right.
I
You've done it
think you've
right.
done it right. So if
Yeah.
I get someone to a point where they're saying, "Listen, I don't need you anymore,"
Yep.
I hope it's because they're not bankrupt. I hope it's because they've gotten to a
Yeah.
point where they don't need me anymore. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you just do you. I'm
Yeah.
all over that, man. Whatever.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
grind though, bud. Like I mean, that first little bit,
I know.
you know,
Yeah. We
one
talked
time
about this a
everybody's
little bit
phoning you, man.
yesterday, right? But I do the anxiety of like, is
It's a
anyone
shit.
there? Hello? Like,
When you're
yeah.
in a position where everybody's phoning you, everybody wants to talk to you because you have the mighty pen, and then you think, okay, whatever. I mean, if I leave, everybody's going to follow. I mean, clearly, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then you get there and you're thinking, wow, it's a little lonely, really.
Yeah.
It's,
Any favorite categories in your lifetime?
Buddy, I liked everything. And I hate this. It sounds so stupid. I mean, Femheim Family Planning was great. I bought stationery. I mean, there's paper clips and Avery labels. I love that.
You were
Toys
a
was my
toy
favorite.
buyer. Yeah,
Toys
toy,
and
I was gonna
toys and
say.
food. Toys and food were
Yeah.
my favorite. And I think toys mostly because it was the same thing. Like it was a kind of a clean slate and I could just go wild.
And then I
And I could
also
buy
thought
shit, man.
like toys takes you places like Shenzhen and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I did
Like
mainland China. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
again, so
yeah.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
people said, well, you've never run an international brand. No, I haven't, but I've bought internationally. I used to go to Europe and buy, I'd go to China and buy. I'd be sitting on the floor on the Canton Flare, like literally on the floor, designing stuff with vendors,
Yeah.
negotiating,
Yeah.
little toy deals or stationary deals. I don't know, man. It's just everything about buying is fun. Everything. There's no bad things in buying. Everything buying is a hoot. Even when it sucks, like if you made a shitty buy, it's still fun.
Yeah,
Because then
yeah,
you got to try to figure out how to get rid of this stuff. And you think, oh my
yeah.
God, like,
Yeah.
how do I move this stuff? But
Yeah.
I loved it. And I honestly, and like the Louis family just let me run amok. Like I never got questioned on how much I was buying, how big the POs were. Like they trusted that I was, hopefully going to make them money and that I was thinking or trying, right? I mean, I got treated. London was awesome for me. Like I got treated really well. They were a great family to work for. Had nothing bad to say about it. It was a blast.
Nice.
I really miss
Nice.
buying, to be honest with you.
Nice.
To be honest with you, I really wish I could have. I wish if there's one gig I really wish I had, I wish I could do buying 1 or 2 days a week. Like if someone out there, like in a grocer, wanted to say,
Maybe
"Hey,
you
no full
can.
time," I would do it. A
Maybe
heartbeat.
you can. Hmm.
Which is
Hmm.
why we did the retail store, right? Because I thought, are
Yeah.
you kidding me? I'm back in retail. I mean, it's too bad it didn't work, but oh, I
That's almost a different story, right? Because you need partners that are that
tuned to
because to run a
yeah.
retail store, you need partners that actually understand retail stores. So,
Retail's tough,
so
man.
yeah,
Retail's not
yeah,
easy. Like, I mean,
yeah.
you think it should be? It's really not. It's
Did
it's a
you
hard
see my
game.
note yesterday? I
Which one?
so yesterday, so I met a pet store at last
Saw
year's
that.
Made in Ontario, right? And I had said to them, hey, when you've got time, when I've got time, let's do some filming. And this year kind of like came and went. It was kind of crazy. So I reached out again yesterday to go, hey, listen, like I've got, kind of a couple of weeks before I'm traveling again. Do you have time? I'll come by next week and film. And then the note that they sent me
I'd
was,
rather closing like now or just closed or
yeah,
just
I'll just
closing.
read
I
it
thought,
because
oh,
it actually kind of like it hurt a little bit. I don't have like hubris to go, oh, had I shared, had we shot with them, everything would be fine. But it does hurt a little because you kind of go, fuck, we could have like it's the sort of thing that, we try to help with.
I
Um,
think that's the thing though, Phil. It's like, I mean, it's just shit happens. It's a tough industry. And whether we could have helped or not with the podcast or talking about it, highly unlikely, to be honest with you, because a lot of times it's just, retail's just retail. With brands and stuff, I like to get at them sooner than later so that
yeah,
we can sort of help build the profitability
yeah,
in and all that so you don't end up in that
yeah,
spot, which is why we're probably so aggressive. Like when we talk to brands, like we don't sugarcoat a lot. I won't anyway, because I don't like it. I mean, if your cogs are the shits, are the shits. I'm sorry. You can't make it better. And I don't want you saying, well, in 10 years when I do 20 million pieces, I don't care
yeah.
what you think in
So
10
so
years.
the
You
store
can't do it
said,
now.
I asked and they said, "Oh, we're closing this Sunday." And then
Mhm.
I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And they said, "I know, thank you. It's hard being a small business."
It's
And then
brutal.
they went on to say we were down 35% this year and we just couldn't push through. I tried so hard to keep it, even at GoFundMe. If you check out our last post, it's devastating for the community. It's overwhelming the amount of love and support. Everyone is so sad. People are posting and even crying at the shop. Um, and you kind of go like that is the thing that kind of like hurts a lot, right? Because these local stores are more than just stores, right? Like they are
Community. They're
they're
you know what
community,
it
they're
is, Phil?
connecting points, right? So Yeah.
It's hard because we've said this numerous, there's no voice for small business. Literally, there is no voice. There's a lot of groups that really try their hardest to advocate for small business, but it's like herding cats.
Hmm.
You know, where you can go on and you can buy billboards all through the states and talk about aluminum tariffs and steel tariffs
Hmm.
and lumber tariffs. And that's great because that is our country, 100%. Who's talking about the little pet shop, the little corner
Nobody.
grocer, as they're
Nobody.
slowly dying?
Yeah.
And just so we're all clear, most of the employment in this
Yeah.
country is small business.
Yeah.
It's not steel. Steel and aluminum are great because they're good paying jobs
Yeah.
and they are our country. And I'm not knocking that. But tax incentives, tax breaks, help always goes to the large and the ones that make the media. The industry we deal with. This is why I really get super passionate about trying to help these small companies because nobody's going to help them. I'm telling you, I don't care what anybody says. Government is not lining up to save little businesses. They're
Yeah.
just not.
Yeah.
So what do we? So I think the obligation maybe you and I have is that because we have some experience or a lot of experience in this is trying to help so that these people can make a run of it. Like
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
tough, man.
Yeah. All right. So that's you. Um, what do you want to know about me?
Well, I because I don't think we've ever talked about it. Is I know what your degrees in,
Yeah.
but you're going to tell people. I know what your
Yeah.
degrees in, right? And I know that the part-time job of cleaning the oil thingy, what you'll tell people in a second, right? I know that shit. So I know a little bit of the Phil Chang story.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that works into
How the
Danone
fuck
and
we got here?
Revlon
Yeah.
and J&J. Like to me,
Yeah.
there is. Well, okay, listen. We've talked to so many people. Mine is more of a straight line. I've been in retail all the way through. I haven't left. You're cleaning oil thingies and writing prose. What, and you end up in business like Fortune
Yeah.
100?
Yeah.
Bullshit. So you have to tell because I have mine. At least people will think, okay, I can see that he started there. Well, that's a straight
Yeah.
line. Well, that's
Yeah.
dynamic.
Um, yeah, some of those things. So I graduated with a English and poli sci dual degree and a minor in philosophy and creative writing.
It's totally business focused.
Yeah, very business focused,
Totally.
extremely. So did that, and then like even there, like I'm a guy that like I just like to learn. I don't think I knew that at the time, so I just got bored a lot. And so I did like a million different jobs. Among them, I got lucky. One of my summer jobs was as a tourism kid. So I worked for I don't think they're around anymore, the Metro Toronto Convention Association, the MTCVA. And they were like this, it was Toronto tourism basically, right? And so I started like answering like I don't know 1,000 calls, 800 calls a week or something like that on like people who would call because we would be on the other side of like commercials, right? So you'd run a commercial in Cleveland or in Boston or like come visit Toronto. We're like a global city. It's amazing. If you want more information, call this number, right? This is pre-internet days. And so like I would be on the other line of that. So I did that as a summer job, did that for a couple of years. And then that comes back to me later. So and then what Kenny's talking about is like my dad worked at an oil refinery. He was an engineer. So he worked for British Petroleum that became Petro-Canada. And then one of the summer jobs I had for 2 summers was to be a refinery operator. So I know a shit ton about oil pumps and oil rigs and oil drums and tanker farms. Like, so tanker farms are those great big canisters that you see out in the middle of nowhere, like that are, big enough that they have stairs that kind of, circular all the way up to the top. So I know a lot about those. And then I know a lot about cat crackers or catalytic crackers, which is like chemistry in a tower, right? Like they have this enormous tower that is superheated. So the bottom of the tower is like 1,400 degrees. Like it's so hot that we used to go up there and make popcorn off the side of the thing. Yeah, yeah. So I did that. I wandered around in hard hat, earmuffs and fireproof Nomex. Um, so I did that for 2 years, and then I'm actually like, at the time I knew how to fight oil fires. Like, very weird shit. So I did that for a couple of summers, and then when I graduated, my call center experience landed me a job at RBC Insurance when they were just starting. So that was my first full-time job. I
After university
started,
though, like graduating
yeah.
university, you're talking.
So
Okay.
graduated university, and then like back then we didn't worry about nobody worried about like what do I do with the rest of my life? Everyone worried about like how do I feed myself and pay for things so I don't have to go home and live in, and like ask mom and dad for money. So I got a job at RBC Insurance. I was like one of the first six people on the phones when RBC Insurance was literally starting out, for the first time. So I did that for 2 years, and I hated all of it. Um, the people weren't bad. None of that was bad. It was just like the bank is the bank is the bank, right? So they move slow, they move sure, and I remember thinking like I'm gonna throw myself off the building because I'd been doing this, for kind of like a year and a bit, and my boss said to me, "You're doing absolutely great. You're one of our best, kind of call takers. If you keep doing this, you'll get promoted in 5 years." Right? And I was like, I
Jesus.
can't do it. Like I just can't do it. And then I had a friend um who worked at Lever Ponds at the time. I'm really dating myself. Like, so if you're wondering how old I am, you'll know right away, right? But they work for Lever Ponds in HR, got me a contract job at Lever Ponds doing customer service. And then I was there when Lever Ponds became Unilever. So I started in the taking calls in the Unilever Lever Brothers plant, down at the, bottom of the DBP. So that was really cool. And then, kind of became part of Unilever. And then the story becomes more linear after that. So after that, I was in an industry that I loved, right? So I love packages. I always loved, um, I'm that kid, like, so everyone else hates shopping and those sort of things. I like being in store. I like hunting for deals. I always did. I think I've been on eBay almost as long as you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's one of those things, right? I loved it. And then I landed in this place where everyone's like, it's another bottle of Thermosilk. And I'm like, no, actually, I kind of get this, right? I get why we might spin this off. Why we do this. How many things of Knorr do we have? Like, Lipton Soup Works. Like, what are we doing with this? How do we sell it? Like, what moves, right? So, um, and then from Unilever, I started to get a taste for data. I went to Revlon um, right in at 2000, basically, right? So I was
Yeah.
there, and then Revlon, I did data. So that was my first, like, that was probably the first job that I really loved because I was doing data. Like, I was like, and I knew nothing,
Like
because
data,
in
store data,
school,
like you're looking at what's selling, what's moving, where it's
analytics
all
analytics
that.
like storing data, like tracking data, how to trend data, like all
It's
of that
cool.
shit, and I knew nothing. Like when I went to Unilever, I barely knew how to use Excel because I studied English, poli-sci, philosophy, and creative writing, right? Like there was no Excel, no Lotus notes, nothing you know in my uni. So I went to Revlon, and then I was that guy. I was reading those, again, before the internet. We had these big thick books that taught you about Excel access. So I started building databases, so my first, like, I got thrown into Shoppers Drug Mart data. I started building trends, and it's like trial by fire, right? Because it's 2000 SKUs at any given time, change over the season, like 700 go away, another 800 come back, and I'm a boy, so black is black is black, right? But like,
14 shades of
Revlon
red
had
or
like
50
black
shades
is
of
not
red.
black and black is
Yeah.
brown and brown is black and brown is black and black is black and black is brown are three different codes. And you're like, they all look the same, right? And then some woman comes on, like, learn your code. You're like, oh, I don't know. Anyway, so I started doing data, and I started segmenting data, building so Shoppers Drug Mart. We started doing store reviews, like store by store reviews. So I built an access database that would help us spit out store entry, store reviews per store. Like, so we did all that, and I got a real taste for that. And a couple of years in, Kimberly Clark came along and recruited me, and then I was doing category management for them. So, like, this is where the story gets a lot more linear, right? Because now I'm
Now it
into
becomes at least
packages.
linear-ish.
Yeah, and then I'm into analytics, so I like that. And then I'm into category development. So at Kimberly Clark, I got into category captaincy with Walmart. So did category reviews with, so Walmart did category captaincy really, like, they were super intense about it, right? So they would come to companies like Kimberly Clark or P&G, Unilever, and go, you're going to assign a guy to us or a person to us, and then they're going to be a dedicated resource for us. They can't tell you what's happening inside the Walmart company or what data they look
You got to
at.
see all your competitors. It's
That's
category
right.
captain.
That's right.
You see everybody's
Yeah.
data, but you can't,
Yeah.
because if you start to bias your own data or start using it,
You know,
you're gunned.
it's a
Or
really
you'll
and
actually
it's a really
they'll
tough
listen
job,
to it.
right? Because at
Yeah.
Kimberly Clark, they would go, "Well, who pays for your
Tell me what's
salary?" And
going
you're
on.
like, "You do." And they're like, "So tell us what's going on." And you're like, "I can't do that because I'm not allowed to. What you need to trust is that I'm doing a good job, and that means that it translates back to Kimberly Clark in another way." Right. And that was kind of the Walmart model. It was very difficult. I had P&G people kind of stand up and go, "You shouldn't be in our fucking meeting. You should get the fuck out." And I'm like, I'm here at the behest of Walmart, and I all I can tell you is it never leaves this building. And the same gears you're giving me, my own people are giving me, right? But they never believed me, right? So it was very difficult. Like, but I really liked the job,
Position
right?
to be put
Because,
into, right?
yeah,
That's a tough one. I
yeah,
never. I loved. I don't love Walmart. I love that concept because it puts a. It's so much easier for them to manage because you can't start
yeah,
listing all KC products
yeah, yeah.
because now you're biased to
No,
Kimberly
no,
Clark.
no. Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't disco all your competitors, and you can't list all your competitors and not do yours because then the buyers or category say, "Wait, whoa, whoa, like these aren't,"
yeah,
and because they're trying to, well, I
yeah,
got to play fair. Like, well, how do
yeah.
I do this?
Yeah.
It's a
And then
dance.
like I learned some things there. Like, so I learned, because you spend a lot of time with the buyer. And so you start to learn things that big brands don't teach you, right? So you learn things like, because everybody goes, why is there so much private label on shelf? You go, because they have to make money another way, right? And so sometimes there are codes that every big brand will go, that makes no sense. And I go, that makes sense to me because I can see the back end. So they make 40 points on that product. In a
You have to
category where
discount
they
it,
only
and
make 20 points on everything, the private label they make 40. I'm surprised that the buyer hasn't made this like a 50% private label category, right?
where else do you buy the
Um,
private label? Can you buy Walmart private label at a superstore?
right.
Buy
But
KC everywhere.
that was like kind of those moments where like I started to learn like buyer dynamics and what actually drives a buyer, right? Because until then, Unilever, Revlon was very vendor focused. So I was very much like, I don't understand. Revlon's like the number one lip in this category. Why aren't you buying all of our products? Why aren't you listing them all? You should push these guys out. You should like, why do we have these guys, right? And then, you get to category captaincy at Kimberly Clark, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait, I understand, right? And then you learn to teach your people things, right? Is if they're listening, like in a new launch at Kimberly Clark, I might say things like, I don't, that's a difficult one to sell at Walmart, because of these reasons. And then they would argue with me, and I'm like, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just saying
Just
if
telling
it
you
were
this is the
me, it would
facts.
be a difficult one to sell. Fill in the blanks. People fill in the blanks, right? Like, because you got to learn how buyers think. So I did that. That was really fun. I like that. And then Danone came, and Danone was just expanding. Like Danone's been around forever, but then Danone actually was expanding into Walmart. And they didn't know anything about Walmart. So they came along and hired a Walmart person. So they hired me. I helped them get into all the pantries, the first 135, 150 pantries in Canada. Traveled to some of them to help them actually manually set up, taught the field sales teams like how to interface, because the field sales, they were used to grocery stores where they could make inroads with dairy managers. And in our case, nobody really understands, Walmart is very centrally driven. They don't do that. And, so every time they would try and list a cherry code somewhere, I would get a call from my buyer going, what the fuck are your people doing? I'm like, I got it right. Like, so first moment for me in key account, can't say I enjoyed it a lot. I got yelled at a lot. But I also developed some really thick skin from doing that, right? So did Danone, really loved it. Got my first taste for international because I wound up doing some work in Bentonville for Danone International, which was really amazing. Got a chance to do that, and then left to go to Pfizer. And then Pfizer turned into J&J. So I stayed there a long time because they knew how to keep me not bored. So I did category management there. And then I wound up doing sales strategy. And then I stayed in sales strategy a long time. So I did sales strategy on upper respiratory. So I learned a ton about allergy and cough cold, a category I still love a lot, weirdly, but I love
I
that
love
category a
OTC,
lot.
buddy.
Yeah. And
Loved
then
OTC.
I did upper respiratory, and then I did and then I wound up going back to, feminine hygiene. So I did Stay Free Care for OB, which is where I met you. I did that. And then also again, did a lot of international stuff there, right? Because I went up, like the Stay Free franchise was in a lot of trouble when I got it. I also have a reputation for taking jobs that nobody else wants. So nobody wanted the Fem High job. And I was like, I can do it. I don't care. Like I'll muck it up. It's interesting to me, right? Because I don't like vanilla and I don't like boring, right? So I got that job, wound up traveling down to the US quite a bit, just to like, to work with the team and see how we, do things a bit different. So we wound up doing that. And then after that, I wound up doing beauty care. So I know Neutrogena, Aveeno. And then after that, I actually got my international. So I spent 2 years after that with J&J International. So I wound up like traveling to different countries to help them with problems, fix things, that sort of thing.
That's
So,
pretty cool.
yeah, lots of learning. And then the international experience was really cool. Got to, but I had to come home because we had our third, or we were having our third. So like being away for 2 weeks at a time, really not conducive to home life. And I miss the kids, right? So I came home, got to work with Target through their Greenfield year, so the year before they open, and then I was there for the first year of opening. That was fun. I'd never opened a store before. And they're like just, you know, you
Yeah.
think I learned a shit ton about buyers. I'd met buyers, like people from Watson's and Carrefour. And so I felt like I understood them. But then doing the buyer job, you were just like, holy fuck, this job, right? Like,
There's a lot of
you
shit going
know,
on, man.
yeah, there's a lot of shit. Like you're kind of like, and it's like, it's really like I don't know, coming from the other side, like actually understanding what a vendor wants actually makes the job harder. Because I would try and politely say no until I learned that no is just no, right?
No.
And so if you don't
Yeah.
say no, every vendor, including me, would hear maybe, and you go absolutely. So I'm telling you no, no, right? Like, and so yeah, so and then I want to like learning things that I think you understand that I never understood. Like, so I think I've told this story before, but I remember running into someone that I knew um that worked for somebody else, and they were in the lobby. They weren't calling on me, but I knew them well enough to give them a hug in the vendor lobby. And then all of a sudden it was like everyone was trying to give me a hug and I didn't understand why. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you just don't like, I come from that side, so but I should have known better is like anything you're under a spotlight when you're a buyer and everything you do gets turned into something with somebody else, right? Because somebody shares it and goes, I heard he likes, and you're like, I don't like that at all. Like, stop bringing me things and stop hugging me because I hug that person because they're a friend. Like, you're just a vendor. Like, stop touching me, right? Like, but
People
yeah,
don't get it. Everybody wants to be
yeah,
your friend
yeah,
because you have the pen,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the
yeah,
thing is, to me, like that's drove me crazy. Let me digress because that would drive me nuts, though. I hug who I hug. I don't hug who I don't hug.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody gets the same yes. Everybody gets the same no.
yeah,
You might get an extra 5 minutes out of me because I like you. It doesn't mean you're going to get the listing. Because it's back to what you said. No is a no, and I don't really give a shit who you are. It doesn't
yeah,
mean I don't like you. It
yeah,
doesn't mean I can't be friends with you. It doesn't mean
yeah.
we can't. I'll tell you the truth. It's a lot. It's a lot when you get to know somebody like your vendor or your buyer. Like if you can have a relationship, it's a lot tougher to get shit.
Yeah,
It's really
because I don't
weird,
want to be
right?
biased, right? Like I
Because I
don't
don't
want
want
anyone
anybody
to
saying, well,
say,
look, because Phil's always there.
yeah,
You give Phil a
yeah,
hug, he gets all the
yeah,
listings. If
yeah,
anything, then I'm tougher on Phil because I don't need everybody pissing and
yeah,
moaning because I just
yeah.
happen to like Phil as a person.
I
And I don't give him
that
now.
was
Phil
one of the
gets actually,
hardest lessons,
it's
actually.
worse.
Yeah, because
It's
I just
worse. It's a
I didn't
detriment.
really I thought, oh, like fuck, like and how does everyone get this? You're like fucking like
I didn't give a shit, man. I just did
yeah,
me.
yeah,
I talk to everybody. I don't give a shit. That's it. You get what you get. If it made sense for us,
yeah,
we did it. You had to, you learned the same as you were a short stint, but you learned that, listen, it's target first, everybody else second.
yeah. And then
This could be distant second, could be
you
close second.
learn, yeah, like and then you learn like there's some serious prioritization things on the buyer side that you don't have on the brand side. Like, because brands they sell cases to you and then it doesn't really matter. Like it does matter in the end what happens to that product, but for the most part, what happens in the middle they could give a shit about. Right. But as a buyer, you're like, if I make a bad choice, that shit follows me everywhere until I
Just
clear it.
sticks.
And then
Yeah.
it's worse than that, like, because I think the one that really hit home was I chose a bad product, and then we ordered a lot of it because I thought it might be a big deal.
You
And
work
then
on it.
even worse than that is it interferes with my future now because now I can't buy something new until I've sold that product because I don't have any more money. Because it's sitting there in that product that I thought would be great. Right. And I think that's one that, like, for brands, I think we try and encourage that they understand that, but I think it's really hard to understand, right?
Did you guys,
You
did you
know?
say, so you guys were open, like you had a cap on what you could buy?
Yeah.
Do you have a budget, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
God bless the Louis, man. I had no budget. I could just go mental.
I
And
mean,
there's a few times I think I did, but honestly, and
you
I don't think
can,
people listen. They don't understand that
yeah.
there are a lot of companies. The buyer has limits. They have $1 million to spend a month. That's it.
Or it's a ratio, right? Or it's a ratio to what you
Whatever it
have. Like,
is,
so if you have X number of inventory, if you like, if 30% of your capital is tied up in inventory, that's all you got. And then you got to stop until you sell some shit down, right? Like, so all of a sudden, those things, if you ever wonder why I would say, like I've said this to brands, but like there are a couple of reasons why buyers get cranky. One is they get handcuffed, right? Because when you have
nothing worse than
money,
handcuffing a buyer.
like when you have money and you have the pen and you're able to buy, I'm a pretty happy guy, right? Because money's flowing, I'm making money, I'm taking good risks, right? Like everything goes fine. But the minute I hit a product that I'm like, fuck, what was I thinking? Or, oh shit, I didn't consider that. Now I've got this hole in my pocket, right? And then I am running with one hand behind my back. I'm going to be a little cranky. And then what most people don't consider is and Target at the time, I think when I left, we had just over 130 stores or something like that, right? But when you make a bad decision, each of the stores feel it and they call you and tell you what they think of what you've just done. So and then stores are very much like, what have you done for me lately? Right. So I could point out that, hey, like I've been running smoothly. They wouldn't notice that. What they go is, I can't fucking sell this product. Can I send it back? Like, because it's taking up room in my back room. It's now clogging up my stores. Like, what do I do with this? I did put it on sale. I put it out on a whole end. Look, let me take a picture for you. It still hasn't moved all weekend, right? So those are moments that make buyers really grouchy, right? Because I'm just like, fuck, I got it, right? But I like now there's 130 of you telling me that I fucked it up, right?
Especially if you got constraints,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
and this is where like a lot of the vendors have to understand is that like in your like lucky, I mean, honestly, I came from such a different world,
yeah,
right? Even if I had mistakes, I still bought shit. Where a lot of companies you can't buy now.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're capped and you're
yeah.
thinking, if I don't get rid of this stuff, I can't buy any new stuff, cool stuff. Opportunities get missed. That's a shitty place to be. Like I like just like even
Yeah,
now, like with cards, like right now, I probably should stop buying. But if I stop buying, I miss opportunities, which
yeah,
means you know what you got to do? Just blow
yeah,
out some of the shit to free
yeah,
up some money.
yeah.
So you take losses, but see, private companies, you can do stuff. Public, you start taking
Well, no,
substantive
but I got to
losses,
answer for
share
every
prices
loss
get
now, right? Because then they're
impacted,
like, you're in the red on all these, and I'm like, well,
and share impacts. I
do you
mean,
want me to like, do you want me to carry the inventory? Like, do you want me to keep taking pressure for that? You want me to sell it? I know you want me to sell it profitably, but I got to get rid of it so I can make you more money on other things, right? So it becomes this, and then I think the other one, like, I was there uh when cold, no, what's the powdered cough cold product?
like Neil Citron when it was out of stock
Neocitrum when it was out of
because they
stock.
shut down that plant in North
Yeah,
Dakota or
that's
some
right.
freaking
That's
like,
right. So I was
oh
there,
my
and then
God, that
that
was a
made me even
disaster.
more cranky, right? Because stores would go, "Where's the product?" And I'm like, "Look, it's not me. The vendor doesn't have it." They're like, "Well, I walked down to Walmart and they have it." And I go, "But
It's their
you have to
Walmart.
understand the way like things work, right? Is Walmart is 35 to 45% of Novartis's business at the time, I think it
And when
was,
they
or
phone
something.
Novartis to say we want
So,
product, that means
so
London, Target,
that's
someone else
right.
doesn't
Well,
get
no,
product.
Novartis would be fair about it. So they would go, got it. So I got 100 cases. 40 of those go to Walmart because Walmart has a 40 share of the category. Great. So where's Target on that list, right? So I know we want to be a 20 share, but we're like a 3 share. So I get 3 cases. They go, well, where is it? I go, I didn't take the 3 cases. I gave it back to them. What am I going to do with 3 cases? Like, I'm going to give you 1 unit to put on shelf. I'd rather just close up the hole and put something else in its place, right? Like,
Just so
so,
you know,
so
they did
yeah.
that math and it was rounding error. So like anybody under 10 just didn't exist. Walmart got
No,
60. You
because
know
it makes
why?
no
Because
sense. It
Walmart
makes no
demanded it, they
sense.
could get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And that's how
But
the
it
game
also makes
plays.
no sense, right? Like, so if I gave, so London would be a 10 to 12 share. If you boiled it down to the drug category, you're probably like a 30 share of the category. If I had 100 cases and I give you 30, what would you do among 89 stores,
What
right?
I used to do, I would do the same thing that the vendor. I see, I was
Yeah,
different. I took it all and 4 stores got it. And I'd have
right.
then 70
But
stores
but
yelling at me, but I'd be thinking,
it'd be gone
I
in
don't give a
like
shit.
3 days, and you
Yeah, and
never
I'm okay
notice
with
the
that. I'll
sales,
take the
right?
sales.
Yeah,
Take the
yeah, yeah,
sales. I'm
yeah,
gonna, you know what? I got 4 stores out of 70 happy. Well, it's better than zero.
yeah, yeah,
But I could do
yeah,
that too, right?
yeah,
It was a whole
yeah,
different world, right?
yeah. Anyway, so I learned a ton there.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't like the way things were going. So I had met a guy named Ben who was running a retail startup named Hubba. And I always wanted to go tech startup side. So retail tech made sense to me. So we went that route. I did that for 4 years. And then I wound up going to NIMI. So Hubba and NIMI were both tech startups, and I did a lot of digital marketing, a lot of ambassador work. It's where Hubba is where I started a podcast for a little while. And so I had learned some things about audio and podcasting. So when I met you, I was on the back end of the Hubba thing. I think I was there like another year after I met you, but I was coming off speaking at our Retail Council of Canada, part of kind of my ambassador gig with Hubba, and we were doing, kind of like we were sunsetting the Hubba podcast, right? But so I'd learned quite a bit. So when I said I know what we're going to do. It was because I knew a bit
I don't
about
know if I ever knew
podcasting.
that. I didn't know you did. I
Yeah.
thought it was because I
Yeah.
was so dynamic and charismatic that you just thought, "Fuck,
No,
I
no.
gotta do
So,
something with this
so,
guy."
so I had always wanted to get in podcasting, but I couldn't see myself doing it alone, right? Because I couldn't figure out what I
Not
was going to
fun.
do, right? Because it wasn't fun, and I didn't think anyone would want to listen to me by myself. So when I met you, it was it was more like here's an interesting guy that I think I could talk to every day or regularly, and then let's throw this up because it might be interesting, right? And then, but even then, the iteration was different because we were going to nosh about the industry and talk about what's going on in the industry, right? Because that's how we started.
So
We
you knew
started
that I
talking about
had the
like, you know, here's the
yeah.
gossip in the industry, or here's what's going on, here's where we think things are going. And then we kind of like quickly pivoted into like, let's get a guest on. Like, let's,
I think just got tired of talking to each other, so I think it made sense.
yeah,
I remember that because at that time you also knew, because I had I had the blog as a buyer, like I was
yeah,
writing the blog
yeah, yeah,
for London, and I think we
yeah,
were definitely the first in probably North America that had a buyer writing their
yeah, yeah.
blog.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
didn't know
You
shit
were the only
about
one.
all
I
the
don't
other
know. I
stuff.
don't know if anybody's done one since even.
Well, I don't
Maybe
have no
there
idea.
is, but I don't think so. I've never seen one. So yeah.
If you think about it, then it kind of flows in, right? Because we already, yeah, okay, I mean, outside of that, I didn't know what a podcast was. I could understand. Yeah, that makes. Oh, okay. Well, it's actually kind of again straight line. I'm a straight line person apparently.
Yeah. So that's my not so
No
straight.
dynamics like you.
The beginning was definitely not straight because I learning. And then I think over the years, like what I started to do, I think after Danon, what I really started to do was try and figure out every job I took, what was I learning new along the way. So I tried every job I took was about like how do I learn something new, right? So some of them are no-brainers. Like being a buyer, I never regret being a buyer. I actually really loved it. So I'm not different than you. If I could buy a couple of days a week, I'd be interested for sure. Um,
All over.
yeah, yeah,
Do people? I don't know. I don't think a lot of even our peeps know. I think they think you just, we say that this one is operations and that one's marketing.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
but who determined that? Well, like, how did like, I don't think people, I think people do know. I don't think a lot of people know that you actually teach digital marketing
oh
at a
yeah. So
college level.
yeah. Oh, sorry, I left that out. But yeah, so when I was at Hubba, I was doing ambassador work, so I was basically going around talking about Hubba, right? Everywhere. And then um, Centennial College in Toronto was looking for someone to teach omni-channel retail. This is like 2017 when we're like everyone's kind of hot on omni-channel, trying to, omni-channel is how do we how do we harmonize what we do online with what we do in store?
How
How
does
do
it all
we
look the same? How does it feel the
yeah,
same?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
which we still can't do really.
we still haven't figured it out, but
Um,
that's okay.
some people have, like Costco's figured it
I
out.
think IKEA has too, buddy, to be honest with
IKEA
you.
has as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sephora
There's
is
not
really
many though.
close.
Yeah.
That's about it, really, I would
Yeah.
say.
Well,
But
and
yeah,
some
so
are spot on, but they're just shitty both ways. So it
yeah.
really, just because you have a shitty store experience, doesn't mean you have to make a shitty online experience. But it is an omni-channel approach.
Yes, correct. Correct. Yeah. So I started teaching omni-channel retail, and then really loved it, actually. Loved being around college students, loved the experience of guiding. And then I started teaching omni. I did that for a couple of years and then really got into it, started teaching SEO, content creation, and then settled into digital marketing, and then brand management and account management. So I've kind of done like a whole bunch of things. I'm probably on my longest hiatus, right? Like I didn't teach. Actually, that's not true. I taught over the summer. The fall is my first kind of, but I don't know. I don't know if people understand that, but like the education industry is going through a contraction with all the immigration cuts. So
It's
a
a
lot
big
of,
deal.
yeah, it's a really big deal, and lots of college profs have
Yeah.
lost jobs. I'm just lucky we get to do this too, but I'm probably I'm probably on an extended hiatus, if not done with Centennial for a while now, until, that whole kind of thing stands itself back up again. So,
To give you a
uh,
digression, you know that
yeah,
we're going to Nelson in a couple weeks. That Selkirk College in Nelson, we're going to be some of the last that see it. Eh? They've already marked it for closing
yeah,
because
yeah,
international students are
yeah, yeah,
non-existent.
yeah. Yeah,
So
we
you
could
think
get
about
into that,
that.
but we
That's
won't. Like, I have
and
really
I know
strong
everybody gets
feelings
into the
on,
big deal. Well, too many
yeah,
international students in the
yeah,
colleges.
no,
A college like that, if it brings, let's say it brings 100 people into Nelson, that's 100 people in the coffee shops, in the grocery stores, in the clothing stores, kids playing hockey, baseball, basketball, like all the schools. Like you can criticize it and knock it all you want, but there's an impact, eh? Pretty substantive.
yeah, and like
That's a
these
small
kids,
town.
they come here, and it's not what you think, right? Like, it's hard. Like, they work two
There's
jobs, most of
jobs.
them. So when they come in, when I get them, they've worked two jobs or one and a half jobs. Like the last couple of years with rent, I had kids coming, like, busing in from London every, on like Tuesdays and Thursdays for in-person classes. That's 2 hours away on a bus. And they would stay all day. So they would get there for, like, they would take the first bus, which would be like 6:30. They'd be there for 8:39. They would stay all day. And like,
And then bus back.
a really common request from me was, "Hey sir, I'm really sorry, but I've got to leave because the last bus to London is like 8:30." Right? And you go, "No, you should go." Like, if like, I can make sure I teach you everything you need to know, and then I'll give you the rest so that you can learn it online, right?
Too bad.
So these kids, like, they don't have it easy. Like, I have a really, really strong opinion on people who think that um kids who got here, like kids who are studying through the immigration program, are the problem in our society. They are not, right? Like,
That's the problem.
I've never met a kid who wasn't working like a million hours and working really hard to try and land a PR, try and land a good
And
job.
you know what? You may have, as usual, 5% that they're
Yeah,
loaded, parents
absolutely.
have shit done. You
But
know
that's
what?
not different than any
Let's
other
kill the
immigration year.
95
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of the five.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Seriously, come on,
yeah,
guys. I
yeah.
mean, honestly, it's just bad policy. Not saying the policy the way it was written was probably even better,
No,
but this
yeah.
light on, light
We're
off is
yeah,
sheer stupidity.
yeah,
We are closing colleges down across the country.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And it's
It's
always the
wrong.
same people.
Yeah, it's
These are
wrong.
these are decent paying jobs.
Yeah,
People are doing what think of you get less kids in school, less cafeteria
yeah,
workers, more people out of work.
yeah,
Like you just do the ripple effect.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's ridiculous what we're doing.
yeah, yeah.
Needed to be
Anyway,
capped, needed to be controlled. Happily. I get it.
yeah, yeah.
Not
So
this.
so here we are. Like,
Anyway,
I
that's
don't I
my
don't
show.
know if but that's kind of me. I feel like I took a really long time, but
Doesn't matter.
um
You know what? It's our podcast. What are you gonna do?
I know, I know,
You
I know.
know?
Yeah, yeah. But it's yeah. And then we're here. I'm
It's a
super
lot though.
excited
I
that
don't think we've
we
ever
can.
talked that much about us. I don't
No.
think people
Well, we're not about
understand.
us sort of people, right? So,
I don't really like
but
talking about us.
yeah, but
Well,
I
I mean,
do
I don't like
think,
talking about you. I don't
like,
like talking about me, but whatever.
but I do think it's, so people know, right? Like, that's who we are. Like, this is why we do what we do, right? Because we really love it. Like, it's and then, that example, it cuts a little, right? That store that is closing, maybe we could have helped, maybe we couldn't have, but it hurts that they're closing, right? Like, it
It's really bothersome that
yeah,
I mean, again, they probably employed four, five, six, seven people
yeah,
from
yeah,
the town. Like it
yeah,
just I don't think people get it. And it's not that people don't get it. I'm not saying the Canadian population. It's the challenge is it's always it's the top down is that the upper side, all we worry about is those who can afford it already. Big companies can figure it out. Billionaires can figure it out. The majority of the population resides in these other businesses. And that's why I think we both do this is that
yeah,
if someone needs to speak up for them, someone needs to
yep,
advocate. Thank God, it's not just you and I, clearly.
yep,
CHFA, BC
yep,
Food and Bev.
yeah,
Um, there are government agencies, the BIBC, Made in Ontario,
yeah.
like all
Ministry of
these little
Agriculture working really hard.
Export
Yeah,
Navigator.
yeah,
All these people are
yeah,
trying. The problem is, even they get handcuffed because it doesn't make news to save a pet store in Mississauga.
yep,
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But you know who cares? That neighborhood cares.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But no, but it doesn't give you, it's not sexy. Saving, I'm not saying not to, saving a steel mill with 100 people makes bigger news than 10 little stores that employed 100 people.
Yeah.
The steel mills are great paying jobs, great. I mean, I'm not knocking
Yeah.
them, but they don't need voice. They have
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Our world needs voice. I mean, so
Yeah.
if we do just this little bit of help, I feel a little bit better at the end of the day. We
Cool,
hope.
dude. Thanks for doing this.
What the hell? I like doing this stuff.
I like doing this.
I mean, I don't really like talking about me, but I mean, I enjoy
No,
the
I like that because
stuff.
we really haven't done that. I don't think we've ever really talked about it, right? Like, yeah.
We have either, to be honest with you. I don't.
No, I don't think so. I think like
Yeah, we should
osmosis
do,
over the
right?
years we've learned a lot about each other, but never really done
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody.